Struggles.
Hello. How are you, Adam?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm getting over my cold, which is doing good.
Yeah, you sound a bit better.
Yeah.
I'm just back from painting in Holland on massive barges.
Now you're back to painting in London on massive walls.
Yeah, but then I've got to go. When this comes out, I'll be on my way to Holland again to do more boats. So there's a lot going on. So the little town that we were staying in is just outside of Rotterdam, and I found out what Rotterdam's motto is.
Oh, fuck, I know this.
Do you?
I've been there. Tell me.
Strength through struggle.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
It's amazing. Strength through struggle. And I just love that. I fell in love with that straight away. So Rotterdam, you have my heart. You're much more beautiful than Amsterdam. No offense to Amsterdam, because you're great as well. But like, yeah, just Rotterdam's just great. And so we were staying in this sort of tiny little village about 40 minutes outside of Rotterdam, really beautiful, like very green. And then working on the waterways, like hanging off a big scaffold that was like coming off the edge of the boat. It was super cool, really, really fun. But I just love that strength through struggle, because I think that is so true. Like that's where all of your strength comes from. So whatever you're going through right now, if it is a struggle, that's where you're getting your strength. That's why you can become an amazing person, is because you're experiencing these things, and that's what's going to shape you.
Yeah, you really need that strength during the struggle as well, don't you? And I think it's that's going to get you through it. It's that realizing that, yes, it might feel awful at the moment, but by pushing through this, you're going to come out the other side a stronger person.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing, I suppose, is always keeping that in the back of your head. So I suppose that's why we're here. That's your little reminder. Keep it in the back of your head, like you're strong as fuck. You can do this. You've got this. Like it's all mind over matter. Like whatever struggles you are going through, just keep it in the back of your head that's making you stronger every single day. So
be more Rotterdam.
Be more Rotterdam. So I've had a lot of time to reflect while I've been hanging off the side of a boat.
Oh, good God.
I've been thinking about a lot. And I was thinking about when I used to work in a school, and I've always said, like, I can help more people with this podcast than when I was working in a school. And that got me thinking about Marie Forleo. And recently when we did our year in review episode, we talked about the everything is figure outable. And I kind of thought about, I just didn't figure out the problem of like helping as many people as possible, like fully helping as many kids as I could. And because I thought I can only help the 30 kids that I'm in the class of.
But I suppose like when you're younger, you don't really realise what the possibilities the world has for you. And like back when you were doing primary school teaching, like
it was early 20s.
Yeah, like social media, the internet wasn't the mass it is today. So
yes,
you're limited to a much smaller area. Whereas with the internet today, you can help people all around the world, like instantly.
Yes, but so it got me thinking about Marie's rules, which are all problems or dreams are figure outable. Number 2, if a problem isn't figure outable, it's not a problem, it's a fact of life. And number 3, you may not care enough to solve the problem, and that's okay. And I think, but it's partly what you were saying of like, I wasn't aware that I could, but also it's like, I didn't care enough in that situation. I felt too handcuffed and I needed something else.
Yeah, I suppose it must have been really frustrating to be in a position where you felt like you couldn't do anything.
Yeah, I knew I was doing something, but it just didn't feel like enough to me. But my whole framework has been completely shifted by this week's guest. It's been completely flipped on its head, because this wonderful woman is changing the world and is literally, whilst being a teacher in a school to 30 or probably 40 kids now, she is also speaking all around the world, setting up her own organization. She's doing it. She's doing the thing that I didn't realize was possible.
Yeah. I think with anything like that, it's like, unless you've got someone to look up to, it's really hard to see the future, unless you can visualize something that doesn't exist yet. It's like when we started Graffiti Life, it's like that future didn't exist yet. We had to just keep going and just hope and keep working to push it and make it become something. She's kind of gone and pioneered what a teacher can be. And I think that's so inspiring for so many people to be able to look at someone who's already done that, and then they can like try and map the paths that they've done to try and replicate it.
Well, she actually says in the episode, when teaching kids, if they can't see it, then they can't become it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly, it's the same. It's not just for kids. That's for us as well.
I think that's why we have such a mix of different people who come on this show, and that's why we try and give you guys like such an array of people from so many different backgrounds, from really different industries, to just show you that like if you're starting something, here's someone who's done that before. Like no matter what it is, we're going to try and give you as big a mix as possible.
Always keep that in the back of your head. Like if you can envision it, you can become it. At least you can work towards becoming it. And even if you never get there, like that journey is going to be like really, really fun to do that. It's really important for everyone to actually think like, what could I become? Because if you think about it, like probably more than you expected, or whatever limitations you've set for yourself, like could you become more than those limitations? And I think for most people, they probably could, but they have to imagine it first before they can get to that stage.
Yeah, and I think imagining things, it's hard to imagine but past what you can see. So I think what would be an interesting thing to do is imagine what you could do in like what would be kind of your absolute dream. And then think of like what would be a little bit crazy, so just push it past that. Like that person there, what could they do to increase on that? And then that person to increase on that. If you're struggling to just have one vision, picture yourself in 2 years' time, or someone who's further ahead in your journey, and picture, well, what would their future look like? Because sometimes it's hard to picture it for yourself, but you can picture it for other people.
Yeah, I think people are going to find this episode really useful, even if they weren't lucky enough to have an amazing teacher like Andria when they were younger, sort of building those foundations. I think the things that we talk about in this episode are so applicable for adult life, of taking these ideas and moving them forward, like in whatever you're doing now, no matter what age you are. So love this episode with the best teacher in the world, Andria Zafirakou. Andria Zafirakou is an art and textiles teacher from North London. She's a Global Teachers Prize winner and took the $1 million that she won from that prize to set up Artists in Residence, which is an artist residency program that gives young people the opportunity to work with different artists and creatives and see the kind of myriad career opportunities that are available in the creative industries. Andria is clearly passionate about creativity and how important it is for all children, no matter what their background, to have the opportunity to express their creativity as they grow.
In this episode, we talk about being the best teacher in the world, kindness, and the importance of the arts.
Hi, Andria.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for doing
much.
our podcast.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have this conversation.
I'm smiling too.
I've never spoken to the best teacher in the world before.
Well, yeah. It's it still feels so strange listening to that title, but I'm one of many, many, many incredible teachers. So yeah.
Yeah. So when it came to the award, did you feel that being an art teacher, did you think I've probably not got a chance?
There's
It's
no
probably going to go
way.
to a science or a maths or whatever.
Absolutely. And I was looking at the other 10 finalists next to me, and I was like, oh my God, he's so amazing. He's done that. And oh my God, that's amazing. Oh my God, So, and there's little old me, art teacher in an inner city London school, come on, it's who's going to vote, who. And so I just thought it's not going to happen. And I almost had a heart attack, almost fainted when I found out it was me. But yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And well deserved. I think you've,
Thank you.
It's well deserved. Is art an important subject?
Oh, absolutely. It is the subject. Why? Because it's a subject which I'm seeing now is needed for our students more now than ever. They need it because it helps them to connect with other human beings. They need it because it teaches them mastery skills to focus on something. They need it because it helps them to fail, helps them to improve, and in a really great, safe environment. They need it because it's about them. It showcases themselves. Whatever they make, it's not the same as any other human being. It's unique. It's individual. It's a celebration of who they are. And they need it just to heal, man. Just to kind of recover from the amount of pressures they have from having to learn, having to regurgitate, having to kind of study and just breathe books. And what's the best thing to do? It's just to be in your little creative zone. Yeah,
that's so true. I think the failure part is really important, because if you fail in maths, there's one answer, and if you get the wrong answer, then that is a failure, whereas a failure in art is not a failure, it's an experimentation, isn't it?
But the interesting thing about maths is that you can be quite creative getting to the answer. So there is creativity in maths quite a lot. But yeah, you're right, the end result is always a positive or a negative. And where the arts, it's not like that. It's the journey, I think, which people appreciate more to get to the end point. So yeah, no, that's a good point.
I think what I really liked you saying there is the fact that it makes people focus. It's something I've not really thought about before. And like for me, like I've always done art, and that's always been like a nice way to go and spend like 6 hours quietly doing something that you're working towards something. Whereas I suppose in today's society, no one spends 6 hours on anything unless they're just massively addicted to a computer game that they're just like completely involved in. There's nothing really to show at the end of that. Whereas with art, yeah, it's a really nice way to sit down and just have a bit of a clear mind, I think. A bit of like stoicism. Just like be with yourself a bit.
I suppose the thing about that I've been frustrated with recently is that a lot of us are making art that we're then posting on Instagram, and that 6 hour session that we've had is then
like
relegated to and
a little tick box,
and then it's seen on someone's feed for like 3 seconds and then it's gone.
Yeah, and I suppose the only thing you take away from it then isn't the 6 hours of joy and kind of peacefulness you've had leading up to it.
Yeah.
It's
it didn't get enough likes.
Yeah, so you could feel miserable after doing 6 hours work, which is a real shame.
But then I think it's about the individual, you know. It's for example, a friend of mine, she makes cakes, it's her hobby, and what she creates is incredible. The artistic content and the time she's spent to create something, and she's exhausted by the end of it. Because it's a cake, it's got a time limitation. She's got to make it, you know, so there's a little pressure in there. But when she shows it to me, I'm taken aback. I'm just like, oh my God, this is an incredible piece of work. She's exhausted, but you can just feel her sense of satisfaction. I made that. Yeah. Someone's going to enjoy that. I made it for, and they're going to appreciate it. And, you know, I've been part of that person's birthday celebration or their wedding, whatever. And I think that's what art is about. It's that feeling you get after creating something and sharing it with someone and just listening to their feedback and
it's that sharing with other people in like the real sense, not just sharing online. It's so nice. It's like thinking of like weddings, for example. Like I shot one of my girlfriend's best friend's weddings, and I just did it when I was there during the day. Like took my camera with me, had my drone in my bag, and just kind of did a little fly around the church beforehand. And it was just a fun thing for me to do that day anyway, because I like being creative, and it was like, well, this is an extra thing to make this day more interesting. And then also at the end of it, you had a product that you can give to someone that they love, and they're going to cherish that forever. It's literally like their wedding day.
Yeah, no, I'm going to laugh now because I hired a photographer for my wedding, and this is 2 years ago, and I've still not contacted him to give me the work because of all the other kind of WhatsApp pictures that my friends took that were just so beautiful, and I was just like, okay, that's my wedding album, but I will come back to you when my life has calmed down just a little bit. So madness, eh?
You mentioned all of those things about how art is such a valuable subject. Why then is it that it's the first to suffer from like funding cuts?
You tell me. I'm bashing my table,
it's
people.
It's so frustrating.
I just don't get it, especially in this country. There's other countries who get it, but in this country, I don't understand. Is it because there's no right or wrong answer? Is it because it's very hard to measure? Is it because it's about judgment? Is it because it's very difficult to to assess? Because it is very difficult to assess quality art. I don't understand. But all I know is that children who have undertaken the arts, and it could be drama, it could be music, it could be media, obviously visual arts, textiles, they have got a very strong sense of self. And by having a strong sense of self as a young person, you're able to confidently communicate, you're able to appreciate others, and they just feel like students who you're like, right, I'd like to employ you because you get it. You will be able to work and connect with other people. And I think that's what we're very good at. But I really don't understand. In primary schools for early years, the teachers, the practitioners there more or less assess a young person by how they're able to use materials to build, to be creative. The idea of play, social skills. However, when we get to secondary school, it's almost pushed out. And the thing which really hurts is when you hear teachers who are checking in on me and just saying, Andrea, am I doing this right? You know, especially primary school teachers, we don't have, can you help me design the curriculum because I don't know if I'm doing this the right thing? And you're like, oh my God, what's going on? When you have got head teachers, oh yes, your work is brilliant, Andrea, but yeah, unfortunately we've had to cut drama, we've had to cut art because not many people are taking it. And I'm like, well, why? What's going on? And when the creative industries are one of the strongest industries in this country, there's no connection. I don't get it. And this is why I'm just so passionate about celebrating the importance of arts for every young person, but not just from the moment they can stand up and walk and they've got their crayons out and they're kind of, decorated their parents' walls, but throughout their life, because it's the one thing that can heal you. It's the one thing that could really kind of motivate you, gives you energy, gives you inspiration to see what's out there.
To me, it almost seems like because you can't measure it, that
it's not worth it.
Yeah. And it's like people, there's so much, especially around schools. I kind of found that with school, like everything just seems to be measured, and that's because that's what they get their funding based on, like their scores and their results. So like with maths and physics and stuff, it's like yes, that's obvious, but that seems to be more of like a memory game. It almost treats people well who've got a really good memory. If you can memorize stuff, then you're going to be really, really good at school. Whereas I feel like the creativity side of it leads to like the problem solving and has that real kind of creative thought process. Like for me at school, I was always good at art, but then maths and physics. And I felt like I don't have a great memory. So I wasn't great at like history and geography and the things that and like languages, because you required a good memory to memorize how to do those things. But maths and physics, I was really good at because I was creative and I had the ability to work out how to solve it rather than just memorizing, well, what did we go through in our textbook? You go from this step to this step to this step. It was more like I enjoyed maths and physics because I found them creative, because I allowed myself to, I wonder if I try that and try this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you actually get to a result because I mean, there'd be times in A level where we sat in like our common room doing some like maths homework or something, and no one could remember what we got taught in class of how to get to this answer. And we were just like, everyone was just like trying to remember the process that we took. But I took a more of a creative approach to it and worked it out by trying lots of different things, literally try and improvement until you found the answer. And when you found it, it was so much more rewarding than just having a little recall of memory that pops into your head.
It's really fascinating. And what you hear now is obviously, I've had the opportunity throughout this year to meet some really inspiring people, and many of them are the CEOs of the biggest companies in the world. And when I say to them, look, what kind of skills, what do you need? Who do you employ? And they're like, we want creative, we want problem solvers, we want people who are able to think outside the box. Yeah. We don't need mathematicians, but that's now done on a computer. We need the people who are going to be able to connect with our customers, get us more customers, and solve the problems. And those are the creatives.
Yeah, I think the government is almost thinking, we want the next Facebook and the next Google to bring in loads of like tech money into our economy, but they're not realizing that it's not coders aren't maths and physics and science people, they're creative people. It's the creativity that comes from coding, which is where the great things come from, because machines can do the rest of it. And as we go forward, that's going to do more and more of that. But it's that creative ability that humans can add to it that is what's going to create the next Facebook or the next Google. And yes, people need to be fucking creative.
So if we have a look at the education system and how it's changed over the hundreds of years since the Industrial Revolution, it hasn't. Mm-hmm. A Victorian class, how it was, people sitting behind the rows, teachers being that's how it is. It's still the same way. Subjects being categorised as in English, maths, science, geography, RE, human. Yeah, that's still how it is in this country. There are other approaches, there's better approaches, and I think what concerns me is that we are not skilling up our kids, that the curriculums that we're offering are not fit for purpose for what they need in the future. And what can we do? Just make sure that we build up their creativity habits. So how can you become creative? What are the habits for creativity? Collaboration, problem solving, strengthening them so that when they can fall into a career, and mind you, they'll probably have 5 different careers over their lifetimes, but when they can adapt and they can feel comfortable, and then they can think, I can do that. I think that's what we need to strive for as a country. It's going to take ages though.
I think as well as the things you said there, I think curiosity is so important.
Absolutely.
And that's what the creative subjects bring. It's that curiosity of like moving into something you don't understand, but having that something inside you. It's like, oh, I want to learn this. I want to find out how to do it. Whereas if you don't do creative things, you don't have that thought process because you're just following things by the book. You're just going exactly like in an order of exactly what people have done before.
I suppose as well, there's a pressure of, I don't think young people, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think young people are aware of the careers that are available to them.
No.
And certainly I suppose there'll be a lot of family pressure of, there's 6 careers in the world. There's teacher,
lawyer.
doctor, lawyer, and they're not shown that there's actually a million different things that they could do. So they think, well, I do really enjoy art, but let me take these subjects because I know then I can be at one of the 6 different careers that there are in the world, not realizing that there's thousands.
Welcome to my world. That is my world. My world is, and this is where it really hurts actually, when you see a young person who you're thinking, my God, you're gifted. You know, you have got it. You're better than me at art, and you're not even, you know, you're 12 and you're better than me, and I'm an art teacher. You know, you've got it, and then you watch them for 7 years, growing and developing. And then when it comes to them choosing their GCSEs, they turn around, they miss, I can't choose art. And I'm like, why? Miss, because I had a conversation with my parents, and then they just said like, no, it's not it won't give me any money, it won't give me any jobs, and what's the careers? And so my battle then is, you know, reeling out a list. These are the careers you can have, and many more that have not come up. And it's about the skills, but it's changing the mindset of the community out there. It's changing the mindset of parents. It's changing the mindset of employers to say, we want creatives. We want to have creativity as a key focus on every single school curriculum. And if you don't, we can't employ. And I think that's the threat of language we need to be making sure our government hear, because we're at crucial stages now. You know, our kids won't be employable. And my fear is that many of them are thinking, you know, I'm going to be graduating university with a £40,000 debt minimum. I need to earn money to pay off my debt. What job will pay me that? And so our kids are thinking about this, and they've got these pressures, and they know that, okay, if I study medicine, I won't be happy, but I'll be able to kind of make, you know, after 7 years of training, I'll be able to make something. But because the way that our technology is very strong and is taking over quite a lot of how systems are working in industry, there are jobs out there that have not been created yet, which we can't tell the students. And I think that's the sad part. Which is why it is vital that we try and bridge this gap between the world of work and education. At the moment, from what I see, there's not a very good thread there. And it's broken, and it's not strong, and the quality is not great in terms of career provision and things. So much can be done there. And I've just come back from another country a couple of days ago, and I was at a conference whereby that was the absolute focus there for the government. They were like, no, they had the government in the room with the CEOs of absolutely every single huge organisation in that country saying, right, this is what we need. You need to commit. How we're going to do that. And I felt like, brilliant. Oh my God, this is where I want to work. That makes you feel great. Like, yes, they get it. You know, they're thinking about the future of their world. They're thinking about in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, what the employment and what the culture of the world is going to be like in their culture, in their country. Are we doing that? I don't know.
Doesn't feel like it.
I don't think it feels. No, not yet. And I'm positive, not yet. So yeah.
I feel like what would be a really good thing to do is almost like in the first ever art class to have like a list on the board of these are all the careers you can do. These are how much money they earn every year. Because as a young kid, you don't care about happiness because you're pretty happy anyway. You just care about, I want to make loads of money. And then have all of those things and you're like, oh, actually, that would be really good. Yeah. Because also like for me, like creative role models are really, really important. So I watch like loads of YouTube on social media all the time, and lots of people I follow are actually pretty much all the people I follow are creatives. And they're all doing something that I'm like, I want to be where they are. And I think as a young person, the people I know who are young, who are really creative and just doing things for themselves, all have these same creative role models. And because they're like, when I grow up, I want to do what they're doing because that looks really cool and really fun. But I feel like at school, that was never really, I never really got, oh, you should go and follow this person because they're interesting in creativity.
No, you've hit the nail on the head. I think the missing link here, which is what I'm trying to do within the arts myself and in my organisation, is to bring the actual role model, the career, into the classroom. Unless a child sees it, they can't dream it, they can't be it. And I think that's what we're missing. As a teacher, I can say, this is what you can do, here's the list, and that's the jobs, I can do that. They won't buy into it unless they have that powerful conversation, that 30 seconds conversation, face to face with the actual person to say, you know, tell me what I need to do, tell me your life, tell me your problems, tell me where it was really great and what and where you struggled and what's your pathway and how much and who are your customers and how do you work, do you go to office, do you work? This is the kind of questions which I can't teach, but they need to be able to know. And the only way to do that is by bringing the world of work into the classrooms, into the schools. And creating the opportunity to do that is difficult because schools are like, the systems, the timetables, to adapt the system in a school is very, very hard. We're like, we're machines, as it were, and they have to be like that. That's the biggest need that we need to do.
Because I think for me, because the school system is so it's going to be really hard to change it for me as an individual person. So I think it's really important that anyone listening who's a parent make sure that their kids are doing things outside of school that are filling those gaps if school isn't providing them.
Yeah, that's great if you've got a parent who's got money. But what about parents, like in my school, who don't have the money? Parents who are working in the evenings, parents who are never at home because for whatever reason, and kids are bringing up themselves. Parents who don't let their kids go out to clubs, social clubs, who haven't got the money for the violin, for the guitars, for the extracurricular activities. That's the problem. And why should those children not have those opportunities? It's wrong. And another thing which really bugs me is that why are they after school classes? Why are they? Why are they not during the school? Why are we not valuing them being in the school curriculum? Because PE and sports, the skills you learn, the leadership skills, collaboration, strength. Those are vital skills that you need in the workplace. And yet, again, it's more or less like, no, they're not valuable. So, it's a huge topic, but yeah.
You mentioned there the role models that you bring into the school, and you obviously work in a really diverse school. Is it important to bring in role models that can appeal to
absolutely
the students that are there, so they can see there's someone who looks like me? Do you see them kind of unlock?
Sure, absolutely, but not just the role models from the workplace, your teachers as well. You have to have teachers standing in front of the students who look like them. So we're lucky in our school that we've got the incredible diverse staff. We've got teachers who are female with hijabs who are teaching physics. That is incredible because that's going to be inspiring the young girls to take physics and take science, and that's what we want to do. So yes, you're right, and it's great having role models and colleagues who come into the schools, and we're really blessed that we had Lewis Hamilton come in last week.
Amazing.
Yeah, he's a friend of our school, and he's had he had a horrible experience at school in terms of his school that he didn't thrive there, and he's able to say to the students, these are the challenges I had, but I was still resilient. I was still able to carry on, and I sat there and I took all the punishment, and yet look where I am now. And those stories of motivation, how can you not be inspired by that? How can you not buy into him? And the more people we have who've got those positive, real stories of hardship, but look at me now, that's what's going to get our kids inspired and be better people.
Yeah, I think that's really important. That's another thing I feel like school is missing a bit, is just mindset teaching, because you learn a lot of facts and how to do things, but you don't really get the kind of education around how you should think and what better ways can you do things that way?
What time do we have? What time do we have to? I mean,
well, I'm not saying there's a problem with what there is. I'm just talking about how important things are.
Absolutely. And God, if I had it, I mean, I think every head teacher would be like, if I could really do it how I want, this is how I'd structure the school. We'd have like yoga every morning, and we'll have like a break, and then we'll have probably a siesta, because we know that. And then students will come in later because teenagers, their brains are switching at later time. So there's so much research into how to get the better performance from people. But we can't afford to do that because we are so accountable to results. We're so accountable to the Ofsted and the external agencies that come and have a look at us. So, that's our challenge. Yeah, it's hard when you know what the problem is and you want to solve it, but what you can do to solve it is not enough.
From what I know about you, like in researching you and seeing your kind of teaching style, and even just in the past few minutes of just us being around you, I think you are teaching mindset just in the person that you are, just because you're so positive and kind. And I think that like kids learn by what they see, and so just by doing that, because obviously kindness is something that's like at your core, and I know that from just researching you for 5 minutes. And is that something that you're always trying to bring forward, sort of be kind and be positive?
Building relationships is for me the most important thing that you can do as a teacher to a young person. Getting to know them, being open, appreciating them, and vice versa, having that two-way conversation. And kindness, not just for young people, but for adults as well. And as a school leader, being kind to your staff, being kind to parents, vice versa, parents being kind to teachers. It's a really huge part of who I am, my own culture, how I was raised. I that's what I highly value.
And so you use art as well as... there's a lot of kids that come to your school that maybe English isn't their first language, and you can use art to overcome those language barriers as well.
It's the universal language, isn't it? Arts. It's the one thing whereby you don't need to communicate, and this is the same with music as well. So a musical instrument, anyone across the world can play it, and the way it's communicated, people can understand. Why it's so important for me is because I was raised as a non-English speaking child. My parents are from Greece and Cyprus, so I was raised and we call it, the code in the schools is called EAL, so English as Additional Language. And what I find is that it's very dangerous that we can label children for not being intelligent just by them not being able to communicate. And what we get from the arts is the ability for children to show us themselves, their personality, how intelligent they are, and how intelligently they can use materials and manipulate materials. And when you see a child who maybe not can speak English but can, oh my God, beep, 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 draw, that when they see your face thinking, this is incredible, your face lights up, you're a genius, oh my God, that sense of pride, that sense of that sense of I can fit in with any other child, that I'm the same as all my peers, that's the most powerful feeling a young person can have. That's called confidence. And if you have confidence in a young person, you will then have the door open to engage into anything. And it doesn't matter if you can't understand English or write English, you'll get there. But it's that being able to be open, and confidence is the key. And that's what the arts bring. They help our students become more confident in their skills.
100%. I wonder what your opinion on this is. Do you think there's any such thing as natural talent? Or do you think hard work and practice?
Both.
Right, both work.
But I've seen natural talent. I've seen kids who've come in who cannot speak English at all, who have not been in a school at all, but you put a jar of water in front of them to draw, they can give you the shape, the tone, the gradient, and they can make something beautiful and incredibly refined. And you had not had to interfere with them, teach them. They've got it. and they're not that there's not that many students I've come across in my lifetime, probably about 100 or so, but the natural talent is there, and my pleasure is just to kind of sometimes create a little bit of chaos from them, so push them out of their comfort zone, get them to try new media, new sizes, new directions, so just to kind of push for them to now start taking risks. Oh God, when you got those kids, you're like, this is why I teach. And the beauty about it is that, you know, some of those students in other subjects, they'll be labelled as probably having special educational needs, or be seen as having cognitive difficulties and learning difficulties. But then in your world, in the art world, that doesn't, you can't see that. That's not an issue. And it's why many of those students just thrive in our subjects, because they have it.
What would you say to a kid who said, I can't draw, miss?
I'll say, let me, you know, come. I'll show you. And it's sad because you have, I do think that, I'm going to probably shoot myself in the foot, but I do think that, you know, as a teacher, you've got the biggest responsibility, and the greatest thing that I can do for my students is show them how awesome my subject is, how incredible my subject is, and how, I know that by teaching, if you learn my subject, if you appreciate my subject, you will gain so many different skills, and you will learn how to draw, you will learn how to appreciate art, you will learn how to access. And I think it's about how you teach it, and finding the way that ignites that interest, that curiosity, and opening that direction for them. And I've had colleagues who say to me, you know, adults, oh, you know, I can't draw. I'm like, you haven't had a good teacher. That's simple.
You've come so far, and it's all very well us looking at you now because you've won the award and you're getting all of this attention and stuff. But in the early days, when you're working in an art room that has smashed out windows and it's freezing cold, and you're having to teach wearing gloves, and you've got I suppose you're putting your own money into going and buying art materials and all of this sort of stuff.
Have you been stalking me?
I mean, yes.
Looking through those broken windows for years now.
That's my world. Yeah.
I mean, how have you? I suppose it's resilience. I mean, how have you cultivated that? Is it just because you've always had this North Star of I'm here to help these kids, and that's what's got you through? Like, how have you cultivated that within yourself to just keep going?
I think that I found my purpose. My purpose is to help build the blocks of creativity, of enjoyment for young people within the art room. I don't know. I know what I'm good at, and I'm good at inspiring young people.
Amazing. Look, I want to thank you so much for donating your time.
To appreciate the environment, other people, their peers, education, to feel a sense of worth. That's my purpose. And luckily, the job that gives me that is by being a teacher.
Since winning the award, have you thought at all about how you can scale that? So instead of just helping a few hundred kids a year, helping 1 million around the world?
My life has changed since winning the award, and if you can imagine so I live 20 minutes from where I work by car, and for the last 13 years, my car would have the same mileage to and from work, you know, and you know, I'd know exactly how much petrol to put in, and that was my life. But since winning the award, I feel like I've got this incredible platform. I feel that there's so much energy in the world from the world of the arts, and through creativity, to make sure that we do something to fix where we are now. So I've got this energy. I've got people backing me. There is a need. There is a problem, and my God, I'm going to solve it, and I'm going to help to support our kids to get them where they need to be. And I'm a parent, and my children are very different, but I know that they need to have every single tool kit in their belt, so that when they go to the world of work, it's there for them ready. It's down to them. We've done everything we can. And that's all we want for our children. That's all we want for our country. And that's what drives me.
Can we talk about your trip to Downing Street?
Okay, yes. Oh, right. So, wow. How do you know about that? Okay, this takes me back to last March. So I won the award on March the 18th, and that was in Dubai, and I was in the Palm Atlantis, and I felt so uncomfortable because this was not
where
my
we
world.
stayed, wasn't it? I think.
No, I think that was near where we went to the water park.
Sorry, Karen.
There's a water park. I mean, it's just the most extravagant place you've ever. I mean, there's gold leaking everywhere and like marble and like
it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
isn't
you
it?
could smell the money in the air. It's incredible.
You can get an Uber helicopter there as well.
Really? Yeah. I'm going to try that next time. But it was, it's just very, very out of, I don't think I could ever describe to you how it felt, apart from like Nemo in the fishbowl being thrown into the Atlantic Sea. That's how it was for me over those last 24 hours. So, won the award, media interview, oh my God, it was going crazy and everything. And then the next day I was flying to the UK, and by that time I still haven't seen my husband since we're in the water with my kids, but landed in Heathrow. There was a lovely little welcoming committee. So my school organised all the kids to be there, the teachers to be there. It was just beautiful. It was, honestly, I was in tears. My husband was there, the kids were there, my mum and dad. It was just beautiful to see everyone in my family. Did not stop. From there, went straight on to Downing Street. And then, first of all, go to Parliament. Went to Parliament, and I was invited into Prime Minister's Question Time. And I sat on the gallery, and I was witnessing something which I see on TV. So I was witnessing Theresa May and Jeremy Corbyn arguing, as they always do. Yeah. And then you have Theresa May saying, and we've got some great news today. We've got the world's best teacher, and she's from the UK, and I'm going to see her in 5 minutes. And then you have Jeremy Corbyn said, well, I've actually met her. So they were having a bit of a standoff. So that was brilliant. I was thinking, oh my God, how about me? So anyway, from then I went straight to Downing Street, and I think, you have that 10% braver moment in your life, the moment that changes you. That's when I had it. So I went to Downing Street, and I was accompanied by the Varkey Foundation's founder, the son, the CEO, and there was 2 government officials there. There was the school's minister there as well, who was my host, taking me around Downing Street. And again, it's like, oh my God, this is happening to me. Sat in around this big table. And then, Andrea, we're very proud of you. We're just delighted that you have won the award and that you're the best teacher in the UK. And we want you to help us. And I was like, right, okay. And, then I saw the jacket open, and I saw an envelope come out, and in the envelope was a piece of paper, and it was an advert for teacher recruitment. So we're wondering if you can help us recruit teachers, because as you know, we've got a problem in the UK schools. We're not recruiting teachers. Blah, 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 blah. What do you think? And then I kind of looked around the room to the CEO and the founder, and they were just nodding like, good. And then my 10% braver Greekness came out, and I was like, thank you so much, but no thank you. Silence.
I can imagine. I
could hear the intake of breaths and, the chest going up. And then after a few minutes silence, the CEO turned around and said, Andrea, can you explain to us why? Why would you not want this opportunity? And then I just said it there. I just said, because I don't think that this government supports the arts in education. And I'm an art teacher, and I've seen the power, and yet we are really struggling to secure the arts on the curriculum. And then I let it rip. The whole Greek. And I was very jet lagged. And I think, oh my God, I probably just completely, made myself look like a fool. But I just said, I felt really depressed because for the last 6-7 years being a leader in my school, I've had to fight. I've had to say, no, we can't take another hour off the drama curriculum. No, we can't take another hour off. No, we've got to do this. No, we've got to make this happen. No, we've got to do it. No, we can't. And that fight came out through there. And I just thought, you know what? I would almost be contradicting everything that I believe in if I said, yes, I will do that. And I think every teacher in the UK would have thought, actually, right on you, Andrea, well done for saying that, because you made the right decision. And to this day, I've got no regrets of that decision. yeah, I've got no regrets. But then when I went home, I'll never forget this. Went home, literally have not been home since winning the award. Got through my door, broke down in tears, and my husband's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "We're gonna get assassinated. The government are gonna send MI5 and MI6 over to kill us." I said no to the government. And then we just burst out laughing, and then my husband just said the key words to me. He goes, "So, right, what are you gonna do about it? So what are you going to do about it? You can't just let it stop there. What are you going to do about it?" And so I think that's when I kind of sat back and reflected and had a couple of conversations with people just to kind of help me think, I've got this great platform. I've just, been offered $1 million. What do I do? And then that's when I kind of thought, right, I'm going to really think about what was the challenges that I had in my school, and my challenges is what we discussed earlier about children not taking up the arts because they didn't think it was a great career. And so I thought, right, and when I was teaching, I used to bring my colleagues and my own friends who I went to uni with, who were working within the arts world, to come in and show what they were doing. So graphic designers, illustrators, this is my job. And I think that was what really inspired our kids to go, actually, I want to do that. That's a job. Oh my God, that's a job? Really, miss? You can get paid doing that? And I'm like, yes! I think that's, for me, is the key. So by bringing the world of practitioners into the children's world, into the art rooms, in helping them get inspired, seeing what they really do, seeing what their work is like, and how their way of living is like, that's the key to inspiration. I think that's what will change lives, and I'm hoping that I'm changing lives by doing that.
And I bet you bought a nice car of that $1 million, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I'm still actually driving my lovely Honda Civic 08 number plate, which I've had for the last 12 years, which is brilliant. But I can't, my life has changed.
What did you do with the $1 million?
I've set up my charity.
So that's where Artists in Residence was born. Can you tell us a little about that?
So Artists in Residence is something I'm very proud of. It's a charity which just does that. We bring artists into schools, and we support schools especially in deprived areas. We started in London, but now it goes to all areas of the UK, by connecting them with the artists to help their school improvement. So, for example, we might have schools that say, "Look, we need support in drama. We haven't got drama curriculum. Can you help us, please?" And then what I do is I have an incredible data bank of artists who have been great and have worked in schools before. And I connect them with the schools, and they co-design a program, very short program, could be 5 or 6 days. And then they go together and they inspire the students, they produce the artworks, the kids get an idea of what it's like working with the artists, the teachers get inspired, they learn the different skills needed by that artist. And obviously the artists are being employed, and they're working with young people, and they get so inspired by that. So I'm hoping, and what then happens is you've got head teachers who are like, oh my God, parents are saying that their kids are happier, and can you come back, and this is the work they've done, it's been incredible, it's been transformative, when can you come back? And I think that's, if we're having that feedback, then we know that we're doing something brilliant. So we're very small, we're very young, but we're growing, and we want to grow further, and because we're solving the problems which I know that our children and our schools need. And unfortunately, I'm having to do that. It shouldn't have to be us, but there is a need there. And I think teachers are natural problem solvers. So until we're not needed, then we're going to carry on with it. So, yeah.
How can any artists and creative listening to this, how could they help?
I'm so glad you said that. If you are an artist or creative who loves working with young people or would like to work with young people, then please get in touch, because our schools need you. They haven't got money, but we are there. We're there to support them by employing you to work in a school. And we're going to be there with you the whole time. So we will hold your hands and we'll get you ready. But it's all about giving back and inspiring the young person, the next generation of our country. And so if you're interested, please do get in touch with us. And the website is www.artistinresidence.org.uk.
So what would you say then to the people who weren't lucky enough to have a good teacher? Is it too late for them?
One of the things that I've found over the last few years since winning the award is the fact that many people who have had a really great experience of education is because they had that one person, that one teacher who changed their life. But I have met a handful of I've met a handful of people who've actually said that they hated school because of one teacher. There's one teacher that just really, that they all were quite abusive in terms of the language they've used, and they just switched off and didn't like education. And if that was you, then I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry you had to do that. And if there's any teachers who are listening to this incredible podcast, I'd just say to you, please be really mindful of what's coming out of your mouth when you're teaching, because some of the language that we're using could really affect the young person, and words can really, really hurt. So just be careful.
We do actually have teachers that listen to this, because we've had DMs from some teachers. So
brilliant.
So yeah, and I think for me, I really wanted to get you in because we on this show have given the education system a bit of a battering, and we've been quite negative in some of the stuff that we've said. But for me, it's so good to hear you saying the same things, and I think it's important for us to get across that we have nothing against teachers. We have a problem with the system that they're wrapped up in and the way that they're kind of handcuffed.
I mean, right, we need to get something absolutely straight. I have travelled to many different countries since winning the award. I have met teachers, I've met ministers of education, and there is no greater teacher than the UK teacher, because the amount of hours we put in before school, after school, what's expected to us is almost impossible. We do the impossible every single day. We are responsible for well-being, we're responsible for their health, we're responsible for their safety, we're responsible for everything. Oh, and yes, and also their education. That's what we're responsible for. There's no other job that puts that much pressures on a single person, and yet we do that, and teachers do that. And how they still go to work every single day, still give their 100% every single day, and how they are never appreciated as much as we would like them to be, which they should deserve, I don't understand. And I just want to say thank you so much to all the teachers. I recognise you. I'm doing my best to represent you, and it's an honour to be part of you and be part of your peers. So thank you.
Because teachers are building the future of the country.
So sorry.
No worries. Look, that's a beautiful moment, because you're really fucking passionate about this, and you're gonna set me off now.
Sorry, no. I see it from my colleagues every day. They're burning out. But they won't give up because of the kids they're relying on. They know their lives. And people don't appreciate teachers. And I'm in a position whereby I've had my kids coming back after like 20 years of teaching them. 15 years of teaching them. And they say to me, Miss, because of you, Miss, can you remember when you had that conversation with my mum? I hated you, but then look what happened to me now. And it was
they
the best
still
thing
call you Miss.
Yeah,
15
and,
years.
and I got, even people who, colleagues who I've taught are working in my school, and they still call me Miss. And they say, Miss, because of you, thank you. And I'm just thinking, my God, you're saying that to me because of you found out about my win. But what about all those other teachers who don't get to hear that? And I'm just really lucky, and I just want people to know that teachers, that there's kids out there who every single day are saying, thank God, because if you didn't say that one thing, or because of what you said to them, you changed their lives. So thank you.
Look, I mean, Downing Street were asking you to recruit teachers, and you said no to them. I think you just did it right there. So, yeah, I mean, there's no more worthy profession in the world, is there, than helping young people and building our future? No,
teaching is the profession. It's the mother of all professions. It's the profession that it starts the other professions, and it's the greatest honour to be able to influence another human being, and that's what we do every day in our classrooms.
Amazing. Look, I want to thank you so much for donating your time. Where can people find you online?
Through the charity, so Artists in Residence, or just look me up, Google me, and I have all my details everywhere. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.